Well, all right. So we're back. And I want to take a minute just to dwell on something. You know, the moment in which we started, we meaning us as individuals, as adults, when we started taking responsibility for our own learning, that moment in our lives, you think back, it marked a major shift in our own development, whether it had been in college or right now today or maybe a long time ago in elementary or middle. But there was a moment somewhere, and it quite possibly was influenced by an adult. And again, maybe it was somebody in a school setting that really had or they possessed the ability to really model these awesome skills that we're going to talk about and teach their content in a way that embedded them directly into whatever academic core that they were, again, certified to teach. So I wanted to open with that, and we're going to talk about 18 individual social and emotional learning goals that are really tied to what we're going to call executive functioning goals. Now, like everything else, we have to be able to clearly identify what it is we're trying to teach. So our objectives or our goals. These right here are 9 that we're going to be able to integrate on a daily basis. What I'd like for you to do is jot these 9 down or put them together in a rubric format. And we're going to create criteria for those. You can use the example that I have right here. It's not my own. I actually found it online. So this stuff is out there, and I just want to make sure that we're using this and harnessing it. So we're going to talk about these 9, starting with the idea of planning the use of your own time. Right? In school, you have teachers that sometimes say, this is what we're going to do right now. Or you have teachers that say, well, these are the things that need to be done over the course of the period of time. We're going to check in with each other throughout that period of time to make sure that we're all on the same page, that we're progressing accordingly to a specific timeline. There's going to be benchmarks, there's going to be moments in which we conference, in which we chat, right? So think about those experiences you had as a student, maybe even as a teacher, you're trying to do those, and think about what kind of skill set that will produce in a child who eventually will become a great high-functioning adult. Number 2, taking on challenging tasks that push limits. Well, I'm a good writer. I've always thought that, right? Until I got into a master's program. Boy, was I wrong. Well, again, I came off of my master's program thinking, I got this. I'm a pretty decent writer. Got into my doctorate program. Wow, what a rude awakening, right? So each level pushed me. And think about that in your day-to-day. Are we aware of the ability levels of our students? Are we kind of allowing for a status quo, or are we pushing their limits? Number 3, keeping track of one's own progress. So this can be done in many ways. Think about in a writing class where I have a rubric on what a paragraph should look like. And maybe there's a scale of 1 through 5. And the teacher provides me with a 3 on my paragraph and says, well, here's what you have to do, according to this rubric over here, to get up to that 5 level. All right? So tracking our own progress. I want you to do that today. Bring it back to me tomorrow. All right? If you do bring it back, maybe we could modify that grade. If not, we're going to leave it at that 3. Okay? 4, using the teacher as a resource, but not as a source of all knowledge. The days of the lecture are over. Absolutely over. Thing of the past. And you might be saying, well, I'm lecturing, meaning Anthony. Yes, but you're an adult. So children, not going to really get along too well with the lecture style. You're going to lose most of them. The content will not be retained or transferred. So we want you to be a resource for support, for finding maybe a video on the topic, for creating content on the topic, for researching something in the media center about the topic, consulting with a professional through Skype on the topic, right? This is where we're trying to go. Being optimistic, being hopeful, looking forward to progress, looking forward to getting better, doing better. Well, how do you teach and promote that? You have to model it. All right. You have to model it and keep an eye on yourself, and then talk to the students about what those characteristics really look like. Define, well, who in life is optimistic? All right. Show a couple of videos about people who clearly are optimistic. Number 6, being persistent, right? The idea of grit or rigor. A marathon runner is persistent, okay? Absolutely persistent, is able to continue to move forward towards that finish line in spite of many, many circumstances, sometimes dehydration, rain, and a whole slew of other things. Sticking, number 7, sticking to a plan of action and following through. I think of science all the time. I'm going to come up with a hypothesis, right? My statement. I'm going to come up with a couple of ideas as to maybe what I might do to test my hypothesis. I might eliminate a couple of those ideas because we don't have the resources to pull them off. I may choose one. I may implement that model to test my hypothesis. I'm going to jot down my results over the course of days. I'm going to watch results over the course of maybe a week. And then I'm going to write up a summary as to what I did and what the findings were. And then I'm not going to sit that on a shelf. I may revisit it again, or recommend that another student take it a step further and continue to come back to it, right? So I'm going to show gratitude, number 8, and appreciation for others, for thoughts, for ideas, for contributions, right? How do we do that? Well, we model it again, and we look for it, especially when we're doing group work, and we talk about, well, what are the responsibilities and the roles of each group? And, well, what are we doing in terms of maybe being the facilitator or being the graphic designer, okay? And thanking and appreciating the hard work of everybody else. Why? Because it's only going to enhance the outcome, which is what each individual is truly going for. All right? Being collaborative, same idea. All right, so those are your top 9. We're going to get to another 9 in the next slide, and hopefully I'll see you soon. All right, thanks a lot.